All right, what's going on, you guys? Hope you guys are all having a good weekend. So I'm getting another shave in for the beginning of January. So hope you guys are all having a good new year so far. So um, real quick, I did mention in my last shave that I would use this vintage plus on. I think I will save this till next week because obviously you guys can see I have just a little more visible beard growth. So I thought today I'd take advantage and use the other brush you guys might have seen recently, which is my largest brush, which is the Italian brand Acca Kappa. This is what is called the 1869 model. It's a Silvertip brush, and we'll just kind of see what comments I give about the brush. But we'll definitely use this next week. I think that I just have more beard growth, that this would be totally fine to use, but also considering this is the weekend, I don't have to rush through my shave, even though most of my shaves end up being, half an hour or so. So, real quick, so we got same soap as last time, SV Felce Aromatica, Beta 4.3. I love me some SV. Even the old stuff is good. SV's Beta 4.3. Just love SV. So it's a very consistent performer. So I'm just pouring out all the bloom water. So I did put a little bit of kokum butter and mango butter on this, just a little bit. And you guys are gonna have to give me a moment here because this knot really does hold a lot of water. So let me just shake it out. Okay. So it's been almost a year since I've used this. Surprisingly, I'm surprised I haven't found a time to actually make the decision to sell this, but I think that one of the reasons is I want to measure the diameter on the knot opening, or the handle opening, for you guys. Yeah, so it's closer to 28 millimeters, so 27.7. Now my understanding though is this knot, the plug is 25 millimeters. So I remember when I got this, I ordered this from the Spanish vendor, Gifts and Care, years and years ago. And I kind of already knew at that time I really enjoy Silvertip brushes. I might as well just start loading up. So I want to make sure I shake out. It's pretty much got all the water out. So you guys can see it'll be a little bit larger for this container. But anyway, if anyone has, if you've been around for a while, maybe at some time you were looking at shave mac knots, and if you were looking on the forums, or maybe had asked a question on maybe one of the groups, maybe you had heard that if you buy, let's say, a complete brush that is labeled, let's say from Burned at Shave Mac, a 24 millimeter brush, you may get it and then measure that same spot, and it may be 2 millimeters larger. You may say it's a 26 millimeter brush. So I've always kind of found that interesting, that, there's sometimes not as much of a distinction between what the actual knot, when it's being made and assembled, and then like the little glue plug on the bottom, what is that measurement, and then what is the difference with the measurement when you put the knot in the handle? What does it kind of measure at the handle opening? I can't tell you guys definitively how many times I've set a knot where the knot, like the glue plug, was 24 millimeters wide, and then the handle opening was 24 millimeters wide. I think usually I won't say have to, but generally you're going to want 1-2 millimeters wider for your handle opening. So I want to just make sure I don't do like what I did with the Cosmo shave last week and just be a little too shy on loading. But when I got this brush, I was expecting something a little smaller because it said it's a 25 millimeter knot, and it's a 25 millimeter knot because this knot had actually fallen out after I had got it, and so it's been reinstalled 2 to 3 times by me, and the handle opening is bigger. So for those of you guys that maybe haven't bought a ton of brushes, don't be surprised if sometimes there's a little bit of not false information, but just where you're like, why is the measurement off or bigger than advertised? The handle opening does not automatically mean that's what the knot size is. Usually, in my opinion, it's going to be a tad smaller. So, and you know what, we might as well, before I lather. So yeah, it's about 27, closer to 28 millimeters wide at the opening, and the loft height 61 millimeters. We also have been talking a lot about glue bumps, and this doesn't have one. This is you guys will see. It looks like maybe a moderately dense Silvertip brush, but this makes lather very well. When I was mentioning earlier, I'm surprised I hadn't kind of sold it. I think one of the reasons why I say that is because of the size of this, I don't really choose to use it all that often. But it's an excellent brush to use in a head shave. So maybe I've kept it around because of, its craftsmanship and just how it's a little bit more, I don't know. I really enjoy this little brush stand. I like the natural wood. But yeah, it's not a gel tip brush. I think the way that the knot was made, I really like it. Let's get some more water in here. I apologize just because this is a little bit of a bigger knot. It's going to take just a little longer to get the lather. But the plan is to use the BBS-1 with the Timor blade on, I can't remember if it's going to be the 3rd or the 4th use. We'll do the against the grain pass first. Then we'll throw that Timor blade in the carbon stainless steel minus base plate. So that'll be my second pass. I've been liking the BBS-1 shaves, more so just for the revisiting it and just kind of doing something a little bit different. But like I said, I'm kind of anxious to get back to using the carbon razors. Still been watching a handful when I can, the different shave videos of different people, and I'm really jazzed to get some straight shaves in sometime this year. I'm not really afraid to do them. I'm just not really rushing into needing them right now. Just kind of letting this year take its course. I guess a couple more things I could touch on with brushes is, I'm sure if a lot of people had bought this brush, this was, I can't remember exactly how much this turned out to be because, at the time, euros, maybe I got this like 4 or 5 years ago, the euro was stronger than the dollar, so I want to say that if you were to buy this shipped from like Gifts and Care, it's gonna run you, I think, around 250 to 300 shipped. I don't know if the price went up. This is the only Acca Kappa brush I've used. I still think we're maybe a little dry on the lather, but there's a couple other Acca Kappa brushes. If I allowed myself to, make a purchase, I think that they would probably be brushes I would enjoy. But yeah, I mean, I tend to use, my brushes pretty vigorously, so, thinking through all of the Badger brushes that I have, there's quite a few that I've had to reset because the knots have fallen out, and I don't really equate that in my personal experience to say that they weren't assembled correctly. I just know for me that, I tend to really kind of put them through some use, and so when that knot fell out, I don't know, it really wasn't, there wasn't a ton of use on this brush at the time when the knot came out. And so what I had actually told Gifts and Care at that time, because I think that the vendor that runs Gifts and Care, he does have I think a small team, maybe it's a family business. And I would assume that in these last few years, they've grown even bigger, because this lather's looking really good. We'll just, for the hell of it, just go one more dip in the water. I can't remember what his name is. Gifts and Care. Anyway, I had told him, I said, I'm emailing you to give you just a heads up and some feedback. This is not a complaint email because I actually love this brush. But in case Acca Kappa would want to know, the brush that I had the knot did come out. And so I think he wanted me to send it back. And so I wasn't upset, but I did say, like, listen, I was hesitant to even let you know that the knot fell out, knowing that, maybe you or the manufacturer would really be anxious to get this back and send me another one. And I said, like, it's again, it's not a complaint. I'm not going to be bashing you or bashing Acca Kappa, but I said, the risk is if I send it back to you, considering that I love the knot, guys, killer brush. It's just a little bigger than, I totally forgot I had all the bloom water in here. So, okay. So let's just do this. Okay, I guess I'll just leave it in the stand for right now. But yeah, I told them, I said, I'd like to keep the knot, reset it myself. I really would not want to get a replacement brush of this model and not be in love as much with the new knot. So I said, I hope you're okay that I let you know, but I think he kind of understood. Maybe it was a little weird, but again, I think that there's a lot of you guys that would rightfully be upset to say, like, if I'm purchasing a top tier brush in that type of price range, from an established company, you'd probably be upset if the knot fell out. But for me, it's like, as long as I like the feel of the knot, if I have to do a little bit of resetting the knot, I'm totally okay with that. I mentioned in my last video, I tend to, when it comes to brushes, be more focused on my belief in how well it was crafted. I'm sure in some video I've kind of mentioned Morris and Fondren, the Lisa Beanie brushes from England. I've tried some very luxurious Lisa Beanie Morrison Forndren brushes. I've also held in hand, and seen pictures of more than enough less than stellar Morrison Forndren brushes, and just some of the more inconsistent, models. And so what I mean by that is just like ones that are not pristine examples of like the really solid and really well done Morrison Forndren brushes that left Lisa Beanie's place. So once again, this BBS-1 razor, it's, I don't know how many times I've maybe described it as aggressive. I'm sure that's slipped out, or I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a inaccurate. Or I don't know. Maybe that's just not the best way to put it. I think that it's a very efficient razor, so maybe that's kind of the more fair point to make, is that I do think that this is a very efficient razor, and although I still think it's got a very good amount of smoothness for how much you guys can see it can take off in one pass. Although my choice is to do the first pass with the grain. I just don't think it's the most smooth option that's out there. I was talking with a couple people this week that were making mention of the Razor Rock Lupo coming out with a couple new options on the base plate. If I'm right, is there there's 3 new options? Is there maybe an open comb? I can't remember. I didn't really get too worried about looking at what was going on. Okay, if you guys don't mind, let me just throw this blade in the carbon real quick, and then that way once I'm all lathered, we can get right into that pass. That's funny, I tend to really want, once that lather's good, in my mind, I tend to think, and I don't think that this is true, something in my mind says that lather has a certain window that it stays kind of with the hydration in the body, so you want to get to your shave right when you feel like that lather is at that pinnacle peak. And I don't think I need to worry about that, but I tend to like to be able to get that shave going once that lathers to the point that I'm comfortable with it. Okay. So now we have the carbon, the Timor blade, the minus base plate. Let me get my little washer here. Oh, I gotta use my carbon handle. You know what? Here, just for the hell of it, we'll do the aluminum. I'm doing a second pass anyway, so. Okay. Going back to brushes, I've told you guys, like, I can be pretty hard on brushes, even though, like, I will say, you guys, I don't think I'm the worst offender when it comes to brushes. And what I mean by that is, you guys don't see me, like, I watch how some people will do their loading with their brushes and just smashing their brushes in on the soap puck, and then really just going to town, and this is more so like in regards to like watching someone use a natural hairbrush. If you're doing that with a synthetic, I do the same thing. I use the synthetics as a real workhorse, but again, for how much when I'm face lathering, you guys see me do, a lot of this kind of slapping or the painting. It's just when you see people like really push down, into the knot, I think that that's fine to kind of do for a more limited amount of time, and then you kind of straighten the knot back out and kind of get that flow through going. So I try to work the lather more at the tips, work it kind of into the middle of the knot, and get that hydration that's going to be kind of in the breach, so to speak, that's in the lower part of the knot. Okay, and let's just get one more dip of the bloom water and we're good. But yeah, this is a soft brush. It's got a good amount of size. The density, I don't have any complaints. I still think that there's a lot of you guys that would say it's maybe on the wimpier side for what you guys like, but okay. Okay, so carbon minus base plate. Just decided not to use the carbon handle. Let's go for the aluminum. I'm going to kind of pick at Sean this year to see if he may consider doing a aluminum prototype handle. Maybe that would be something I can try, or ask him if I can buy it, or just see how that might turn out. This feels great. You guys were checking in a few videos back when I first used the BBS-1 again. I did do that first pass in that video with the grain, and it just doesn't pick up quite the same, and doesn't offer that same satisfying feeling. But yeah, this year, like I said, I'll be playing around a little bit with some of the different carbon base plates, but I don't think I'm going to be really getting into too many new safety razors. If anything, it's really going to be more about just kind of working in some straight razor shaves. I'm a little, getting a little bit excited just watching a lot of the different people that I kind of follow do their straight shaves, and just kind of seeing everyone get into doing their own honing, and just seeing people's edges get tried on all the different channels. It's very exciting. I hope that if anyone maybe watches my videos, there may be some of let's say it's like a myth or a belief that, maybe the people that prefer using straight razors, maybe some of them at some point, if you ever saw a post, would be like, a real person or a real man would shave with a straight razor and shaving with the DEs is too easy. They may also say, like, you know, a straight razor shave is going to give you a closer and a more comfortable shave versus a DE. I think most of those things I would agree with. And so I just bring it up because in my experience, it doesn't come from wanting to have that view kind of like as an elitist. But it's funny how now I've heard it more with the people that are straight razor users, and they say that the DE blades are just like, they say they're so damn sharp and they're dangerous. And just because I haven't had that much straight razor shave experience, although I've done it, you know, at different points, I think I can understand that, because I'm definitely someone that has definitely a limit on kind of my face. You know, like I said, even just doing a 2-pass with the BBS-1, it just takes it a little further than I really want or need. And so, yeah, I'm thinking of, Nav had made a comment for my last video, just kind of talking about like trying not to give an opinion on like what your preference is and basing like a review on how well it works based on how you want it to work. And so again, that's kind of like what I try to do with my videos, is you can take anything and everything that's in these videos with a grain of salt, but it's more for, it's a demonstrational purpose and how it was used in my shave, or maybe why I choose to use something in my shave. So it's kind of like, if one razor gives a closer shave, am I supposed to say that that's the better razor? I think that, you know, a lot of the time these types of videos, you know, the long form videos, they offer something a little bit different. You know, I'd also told you guys in a shave video, towards the end of the shave, am I supposed to give you, you know, more positive or more negative comments on how does it feel right after I've shaved versus maybe how your skin may feel an hour later, a couple hours later. You may have a differing, you know, view of how that feels. So like right now, my face feels so comfortable. Is it the closest shave? There's going to still be those parts that have a little bit of beard growth, but it goes back to kind of what I was experiencing last year with like more consistent shaves. When I say that, I guess I mean a couple different things. And it's that, you know, hopefully as long as there's no like visible beard growth, does it look like a close shave? I think that has maybe a little bit more value to me. You know, do I look clean shaven? And then the way that my actual face feels, you know, I'm always going to be like, okay, it's not always going to be baby butt smooth right underneath the jawline, or especially here on the middle part of the neck. JB was talking about how, you know, maybe there's some more sensitive areas around the mouth. And I was telling him that I think I tend to get more nicks below my lip as opposed to this area. I think even with straight razors, you guys, I think I'm okay with going against the grain. I'm not saying I'm a master, but I don't find as much discomfort in trying to get a close shave on this area. But trying to get it in this area without any irritation, that seems to be a little bit of a harder thing for me. So, you know, again, just trying to give you guys kind of like, well, why would Zach say one razor is better for him? These razors like the Carbon, I think the in-shave feedback that I get, I tend to have an easier time knowing kind of how I can really push it to the limit without surpassing and damaging my skin, you know, like giving it razor burn or just pushing it to the point where I'm more likely to get nicks. You know, and again, like that word consistent, even though I still might have these areas that aren't baby butt smooth, I just feel like the consistency of comfort across the entire face for the, the whole area that I shaved, it's more evenly comfortable, rather than saying like, well, most of the area is very close, but then there's spots where I got razor burn. That's kind of what I've tried to get away from. So, limiting the pass. So I don't think I'm going to do a third pass. I could, but this is a very comfortable shave. So again, the BBS-1 head, it's great. I was kind of thinking about this yesterday. I watched John Shaves. He had his top 7 razor reviews, and he has a WR2 in the 105 blade gap. So I told him, I said, I'm assuming that my BBS-1's going to be kind of close to that, but I think I'd probably, if I were to try another Wolfman razor, it's going to be the WR1. I think that is more suitable for a 2 to 3 pass shave for me versus the BBS-1. But if I were to try like the WR2 style head, I'd try it in maybe like the 1.25 blade gap, or maybe like the 1.35 blade gap. And if those didn't work out, I don't know that I would go for, like a BBS-1 style head with less blade exposure. I don't think that I would love that. So, again, there's so many options in wet shaving right now. Sometimes I forget that there's so many American artisans that are making, razors here. And so, like I've said before, if you guys hear me, more or less mention carbon more often, it just happened to be what I was, kind of intrigued by over a year ago. And then once I made the purchase, the intuition that I had with those razors, they seemed to just kind of fall in line with how I wanted to use them and just how comfortable they leave the skin. So obviously with this shave, it's not just responsible because of the carbon, but also the BBS-1. But, I guess the only other thing, JB was asking about getting some of these trouble spots. So the tip that I always try and give people is try to know what the limit on the pressure is that you want to apply. I think that's, again, it goes back to me maybe pressing into that skin when I'm kind of leaning into the guard bar, the safety bar. Maybe I do that more than the typical shaver. But I also told JB, I think what's more important is just really maintaining the angle that you think you're using. When I was testing this minus base plate, I had the prototype earlier last year that Sean had sent me. And one of the feedback that I didn't realize I was going to give him was I said, I think this minus base plate, I feel pretty intuitive leaning on the cap. And I didn't find that it was harsher on my skin versus kind of maintaining this other angle. And I found that interesting. I wouldn't say that it was the most useful feedback, but I don't know that I like the original base plate and kind of riding the cap as much. It's not to say that it's bad, but again, whatever angle you guys are using, trying to maintain that angle so that it's, working the way that you want to take off the beard and leave as much skin as possible. So, again, if you guys are trying out new razors, every razor is going to have a different, window. That's kind of what I've told Sean. I said, the BBS-1 razor, I like it. And I do think that it's got, kind of a smaller window on how that angle should be held. But his razors seem to they don't have quite as tight of a sweet spot. I think it's a little bit more intuitive and a little bit wider. So it should be easier to use. So, yeah, I guess before I wrap up, I'm wanting to make these, I want to keep making some videos this year. So I'm going to try to find some different ways to kind of add some personality. So, again, I'm still enjoying watching other people's, shave channels and, slowly when I have time, kind of check out some new channels, trying to participate a little bit more in some of the different groups. But yeah, again, if you guys have any suggestions, constructive criticisms, got a little bit of the, here, if you guys didn't see this, I can't remember if Will still has this available. I don't think he does, but this is Fougere Aromatique, is a modern aromatic fern, no holds barred, teeth out scent with staying power and style. He says it's gleamingly spicy and utterly without pretense. It's a reminder of what it means to carry yourself with confidence. You know, that's kind of cool. What was the other one that came out at this time? Fougere Aromatique and what's it? Fougere Imperial. I don't remember liking that one as much, but this is a good scent. Let's just throw on the Mirto di Sardegna. At some point this year, I wouldn't be surprised if I get the full bottle of the Felce Aromatica. But very minimal burn. Wow. You guys, very, very good shave. Very good shave. Again, I know these are long. I hope you guys got something from some of the comments that I made about brushes. A lot of lather. So, I may take a break from using the Felce Aromatica very soon, so I don't know if the next video I'll use it. I think I'll either use Mike's Hungarian Lavender, I may use the Haslinger Sage, or I may use some Mystic Water. So you guys will probably see me mix it up with the soap, but long video, but anyway, I'm sure I'll use the BBS-1 for a couple more shaves, and then for sure this will be the next brush, much smaller brush. Really, really nice brush. So I promise that'll get used in the next one. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Hope you guys have a nice weekend. Have a nice shave. So stay well, you guys. Take care.